Hi everybody, I'm Wim. Weird name, William, Dutch, so that explains a lot. You see this GoPro thing? So my colleague Seamus is going with a business card thing. So just throw it in and maybe you win a GoPro. Okay? Just not sure. If you don't have a card, I have a card for you. My name. I see a lot of familiar faces, so some of you already know about Coveo. So I tried to put in some deep dives so that you know a little bit more than the previous presentation. And let's make it interactive. So if you have questions, let me know. I was on the site of Sitecore, and these were elected by the best sites ever of the last year. Everybody knows that, right? Maybe you worked on it. But again, who cares? Right? You could have the best content, but still, you also want to have the best search ever. And why? If people cannot find the content, you're not happy, right? Some of the websites don't need it, let's be honest. But on the other hand, you need a powerful search. And that's where Coveo comes in. Because we do search, and we do it pretty good. Well, that's my opinion, but I'm from Coveo, right? You can test drive it later on yourself. So we're specialized in search. That's the only thing we do. We are not into CMS, we're not into CRM. We are in the search business for 15 years. Okay? Just like you've seen in solar, but we're on a different level, hopefully. So a little bit of a highlight of what Coveo offers. Okay? Few highlights. It's not a sales pitch, but just to make sure that you understand what we do. So out of the box, we have a lot of components, like out of the box faceted search, out of the box search interfaces, result templates, all the usual stuff which takes a lot of work to build is already inside our products. All of them register analytics events for search analytics, so you don't have to program that yourself. It's open source, it's on GitHub, so you can make your own extensions. Every event can be triggered and handled by yourself, so it's completely open. Out of the box, we support Sitecore security. So if you're currently on a website which has on the roadmap to support security, you can do that, right? I hear a ticking noise. Oh, that's okay. It's just background noise. Connectivity and oh, I have this. Okay. Connectivity and content. Besides Sitecore, we also have a lot of other connectors, as we call it. So you might be in a project where people bought Sitecore, like we have in the Netherlands, a small insurance company. They have 150 websites. The migration from Sitecore to everything, or from SharePoint to Sitecore takes 2 to 3 years. What do you do in the meantime? We can index the old content, and then slowly we migrate all the sites to Sitecore, but you still have a powerful search. Okay, so we also have websites, all different kind of connectors to connect to that external content. Some people have intelligent communities. You want to integrate that feedback or those community posts in your Sitecore normal search. That's what you can do with Coveo. Okay? Advanced search features and ranking, and I have a deep dive on that, how it works and how we support the XDV. So you need some powerful ranking there, because just a result list is not good enough. You want to have the best results first. Technology fit, well, especially if you are using us for on-premise installation, we are running on a Windows machine. So you can just install us, maybe on the same Sitecore server if you have a very small deployment, or you could install us on different virtual machines. We now also have a cloud index, so you don't even have to provision an index server anymore. And of course, usage analytics based on machine learning. So on top of usage analytics, we try to start learning from the user behavior. And I will show you that later on how that works. Just a little bit about Coveo, because maybe you never heard about us. We're a Canadian company based in Quebec City. And we now have around 300 installations with Coveo and Sitecore. So partners and a lot of customers are slowly using our product to improve their search. We're around 300 employees, and well, still grows, who cares? That's marketing. So Sitecore, right? We now have a cloud-based, self-learning, most relevant, intelligent search on the market. And let's go a little bit about what kind of features we have. So we have a complete index in the cloud. Hosted on Amazon, we automatically have fail-safe capabilities. So from a backend perspective, you don't have to do anything. On the Sitecore front, you just install a package, and that package is connecting to your backend system. And that backend could be on-premise, or it could be in the cloud. If you want to switch between them, just you change a little URL and that's it. So all the development you did on-premise, you can just migrate that seamlessly to the cloud index. Also we have the usage analytics, also based on cloud technology. So again, we are using an Amazon database to store the cloud analytics, and on top of that we have machine learning. So that machine learning kicks in like people are searching for yellow and always click on the 6th result. Well, then that 6th result will slowly go on top of all the others. And that's how we use machine learning to constantly improve the relevance. And of course in combination with XDB. We're completely integrated, and I will show you that in the demo. We're completely inside the content editor, so content editors can start building a search page and can drag and drop all the components in there. And then developers can start developing that even to a higher level with customized result templates and whatever you need more. We have a free version, both for cloud and on-premise. So you literally can start using us today by just downloading it, installing it, and that should be a seamless experience. Okay? If you have glitches, we have a whole community to help you out, but the free version is available. A little bit about the architecture. So essentially we are just adding some Coveo components. We have a JavaScript framework with HTML5, and that is communicating with a Coveo index. From a Sitecore perspective, we are just adding a search provider. So we're not replacing anything. You can just talk to the search provider directly, specify the Coveo index to use, and everything works as you used to do. Now, one of the topics later on is link queries. So you can execute your own link queries with additional features based on Coveo. I don't know how many of you are using link queries. Nobody? Oh, a few. Okay. Well, I will show you what you can do with more advanced link queries. Well, let's have a short demo of how it looks like. First of all, this is this is one of the latest implementations. They choose to have a result template, not as what everybody else is using, but more a tiled result template. As you can see, that's a good example of how extensive you can change the UI of the search results. They are also using some roll-ups. So when I click on the Learn More, this is essentially a search roll-up powered by search. Well, crazy? Why not using a Sitecore component to do that? Well, if you use Coveo, since we can understand the XDB profile cards, the next time when the profile card changes, the first two results will be changed based on the current profile. So automatically you don't have to change anything, and the most relevant results will be put on top. And that's a big advantage by not using, for example, a standard roll-up of Sitecore. Okay? I like this example because it looks really, really nice. Different example, more as a traditional search, right? Searching for vitamins or whatever other pills you need. And as you can see, all the facets here are out of the box. So the hard work of doing something that looks pretty simple, like clicking on a selection, and then recalculating how many results you are getting more if you add something, is all out of the box, right? Searching for more results, sorting them differently. For the guys who are working on e-commerce, we even have calculated facets based on a numeric value. For example, an average price range. So on the fly, based on the current result set, we can calculate an average price. Hopefully that makes sense.
So is that driven by HTML framework you mentioned earlier?
Yes. The rendering is done by a framework, but the actual calculation is done on our backend.
Renderings and JavaScript.
Yeah.
Also.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's available in free version.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. The result templates, again, can be completely tailored based on selecting a certain field to render the result. So you have total flexibility on how you want to display the search results. Another example, it's not rocket science here, so it's all search, right? But I will get into more details later on. So how does it look like in Sitecore self? So when I go to my control panel, you see that we have a separate Coveo panel here. And that's how deep our integration goes. You don't have to leave Sitecore to do something to maintain Coveo. Of course you can, and it's available, but right from here, the most specific tasks can be done here. Also from here, since we are just changing or working with a search provider, we are just creating two new indexes, a new web and a new master index. And no, we do not replace all the Sitecore indexes. I wish we were, but we are not. Okay? Because for analytics only, the amount of data there, just for indexing it, it's not our use case. Okay, so the web, the front, and the master is done by Coveo. So when you publish an item, we are getting the push, and the content is indexed immediately. Okay, we're just getting JSON, and that's what we put in our index. Okay? The good news is that if you rebuild a database, a complete tree, the content is not wiped or something first, so the old content is slowly being overwritten by the new content. So if you make a mistake somewhere, you need to rebuild your whole tree. Of course, it will take a while because Sitecore is pushing the content. But in the meantime, end users will still have search results. So when I go to my content editor, I can, from here, I can start inserting search page. It can be done on web forms or MVC, but right from here, don't have to call a developer, it's very hot here, I can start inserting a search page. Maybe we can open up some windows. It's very hot here, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, from here, I can immediately go to the publish, and I already have a working search interface. See, it's already working. So I can start doing a search, like a page or whatever, and it's already there. Okay, so that's our out-of-the-box components. But as a content editor, I can also start putting some facets in place. And again, we are just using the same content as Sitecore delivers to us. So if you have your system buckets, your facets, those fields are being displayed. So there's nothing different what you need to do in Sitecore to use Coveo. Also here you see that we have different facet options. We have sliders, we have normal facets. Everything can be just dragged and dropped. When I select this one, I get a pop-up. Well, most content editors should be able to do this. Of course, you have a lot of other parameters here. I will not go into detail here. But as you can see, we normally would have had an author list here. Because of the demo, of course not. There they are. Okay, see? So it's already working. You can define, if people can click on this expand button, if there should be a search within the facet values. We can have phonetic search enabled if you are searching for authors or something like John. I will show you that later on. But everything can be enabled on that specific control. Okay, so you can add sorting based on any field you have in your index. So everything can be managed right from the content editor. If I go to the search interface, I get even more options. And I can understand it's very tiny, but you have a filter expression rule where you can filter what you want to show in the search interface. Filtering is nice, boosting is even nicer, right? Because you never want to show an empty search result. Well, at least you try to avoid that as much as possible, especially for e-commerce. Boosting, you can start selecting what you want to boost. And there's no limit here. So you can have 10 or 30 rules of the sun is not shining, it's very hot, I'm a man, whatever. You can start putting all of that in place and all the rules will be pushed to the end query. Okay, so you can go very far with the whole boosting experience. And boosting means personalizing results, so that also means we support this XDB from here. So you could add an additional booster if the profile card is a family profile. And then you can even start boosting content more. Of course, that's all a lot of work, and you don't want that. So we also have an automatic boosting here. Automatic means let Coveo do the hard work. Just show different search ranking based on the current selected profile. How that in detail works, I have a slide on that. It's too difficult to explain, so I will show you that later on. Okay, so everything from the search result, from the search interface, can be done by a content editor. But, thank God, developers can do more. So they can say, hey, whenever somebody's hitting the search button, I want to do some additional code, or I want to check something. Of course, we have normal features like thesaurus functions, synonyms, top results, everything like that. but developers have full control over the search interface. Any questions around this? No? Good. Then let's move on. Finally, we have search analytics. The sites that we are writing back to the search analytics of Sitecore. We are just filling up the Sitecore analytics database. We also have our own analytics. Why? Well, we're not working only with Sitecore, right? We also have smaller companies like Salesforce and a lot of websites which also need search analytics. So everything is being put here. So imagine if you would have Sitecore and Salesforce. You can track and trace all search behavior from both applications. That's why we have our own analytics platform. Okay? One important one here is that we are also looking into the relevancy and the content gaps. So where do you have queries without results? But we also can calculate average click rank. So on which position did people click? The 6th, 7th, maybe the first result. First you don't want to change. The others you probably want to change. And you want to fine-tune the relevancy. So we can support A/B testing, that kind of stuff. Okay? And again, we're not a black box. We're completely open, and the whole relevancy model can be changed by yourself. Okay, somebody in Canada woke up. So, a few deep dive sessions. Demo we did, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, okay. You want to have the best first. Yeah, of course. Everybody wants that. We're not a black box, so you have full control on how relevant the results are. Per search interface, you can have different ranking. So if you have a product search page, you want to probably have different ranking, different facets, different filters than if you have an FAQ search. It can be tailored for your needs. And don't filter it like I only want to see blue, high heels or whatever, because you might miss the beautiful yellow one, right? And since you still want to have shoes, you can still buy them. So I already showed you in the content editor, but how does it look in code? So I created two examples. Left-hand side is for most women, and right-hand side is for most guys, right? No? Okay. Well, there are exceptions. So imagine you want to start filtering on specific metadata. What you see here is what a developer would enter in the search queries. It's what we call query ranking expressions. Query ranking expressions, pretty simple, right? You can set an expression like the metadata field color should be equal to blue, and we give it 200 points extra. Okay, so you start fine-tuning the relevancy. And you can say, well, the color is yellow. Uh-oh, no way. Down with the relevancy. That doesn't mean that you don't find yellow anymore, but if you have a blue one and a yellow one, the blue one will be on top. Okay, so you can fine-tune the relevancy. If it's a Mercedes, you give it 150 points. Or you can continue, right? If the heel size is bigger than 15, and I'm not an expert there, you give it 150 points. When the cool factor is bigger than 80, you give it another. And you can also say whenever the production date is since the last year, I want to give it 40 points extra. So you can have some powerful queries behind the scenes to influence the ranking. Or you could use free text, so you don't use any metadata value, just search for hottest. So when there's hottest in the page itself or in one of the metadata values, we give it 100 points extra. and maybe that would result in something like this. Make sense?
Can that be based on what you've learned about the customer?
Yeah. So on top of this, you could influence the context. So if you know that this is a woman, you can start changing the relevancy. You could also think about that you are creating a UI where you let the end user set their own preferences. Right? Just some entry points like, I want to control the relevancy. And that's even better because then you are not pushing them towards anything. No, they set it up themselves. And on top of this, you can still use the XDV. Okay? So personalization and XDV, how does it work, right? Everybody knows personalization. You have a business profile, looks completely different, and you have a family profile, looks completely different. That's out of the box Sitecore. Everybody knows that in this room, hopefully. But search, that's a different story. If you use a standard Solar search, you will always get the same search results, unless you start coding it very heavily, and then you would get something else. Okay? So how do we use the XDV data? Of course, you are starting your visit. Sitecore determines the proper pattern or the profile card, and that is being sent using a query against our index. The index will execute that and will change the ranking of the documents. That's pretty basic. So in the content editor, you have seen that you can set this up. So based on those values, you can say, okay, the current pattern card is developer. The technology factor here is quite high, so that's probably the most important to consider in the search results. So we create a whole bunch of modifiers, and this is essentially the boosting expression we execute. And those long field names, ignore them, because that's just the way we do it. But you can see that we're just modifying the most frequently used ones, and the most important ones we give 100 or 200 points extra. And you can imagine, and I'll show you that later on, that a family card or a business card is having a different relevancy. Okay? So, profile card, and you have a document which has those values. Well, then it's simply a filter, right? Well, let's look at some reality. So you have your business profile, your family profile. See, this one is business profile, gives it much higher points. And here, the family percentage and the couples is getting much more points. And that's how we try to get the best relevant results based on the current profile. If this is not good enough, you can still develop it by yourself, because you have total control, as I've shown you before, so you can still change that the way you like it. Any questions on this? Which one of you are using XDV, by the way? Okay. Does it make sense? Useful, you think, or?
How is the license model Coveo?
Do
you offer sandbox for development?
Yes, we have a free sandbox, so you can download our free trial, and you can just install it.
How many kinds of licenses?
We have a free, a pro, and an enterprise. The enterprise supports the XDV. The free is not, right? Because people want to sell something. So the enterprise contains all the features, and one of them is the XDV. Okay?
So how do you assign these results to the profiles? For example, a flight.
Yeah.
To be.
This slide is essentially a record in sales Sitecore, right? Could be in Salesforce, but this is a Sitecore session. So in Sitecore it says somebody needs to assign those values that is a specific business flight. And based on that, this query will get the best business flight first.
So is there already a set of fields?
Yes. Yeah. It's all done by Sitecore itself already. Okay? Data enrichment. Sometimes you have content editors and they do their job, and sometimes they make mistakes, and some of that content should not surface in a search result. Like, for example, a credit card number. Maybe there are some brain who thinks to put in a credit card number is a good idea on a website. Just a stupid example, right? But using an item processor, when you start pushing the content, you could identify that because you have full control to the content, which is before it's being pushed to the index, and you can flag it at high risk. So you can add metadata value to flag it as high risk. In your search interface, you put an additional filter, only show normal content, which don't have that flag. Okay? This is not only supported for Sitecore, this is also supported for other repositories. So if you have a website, which you don't control, you could do the same thing. It's what we call extensions. So during the whole indexing process, you can start controlling these kind of settings. Okay? You can add metadata. So if you want to have a search result with geographical information like longitude, latitude, during indexing you could go to a geocoder, look for the city or whatever, get the longitude, latitude, and store it in metadata.
Proximity from the specific.
Yes, we have query functions which can calculate the distance between two longitude, latitude, and you can sort by distance. So you could say, give me all the interesting Sitecore NTPs in a radius of 100 miles. Or we're in the Netherlands, or we're in the UK, 100 kilometers. Or even miles. Sorry. Okay? Yeah. You can also combine metadata. Maybe the customer wants to see a product tree, right? We have a hierarchical facet. You can build up a tree. Sitecore does not support a tree, as far as I know. So what you can do is you can combine two metadata fields together, and then Coveo can display that as a tree. So you just combine category and product into a single value. Just had that issue with one of our customers. Or you can clean metadata, right? People need to enter metadata. Well, you know how it goes. Some guy is using business class, another one is using BC, because he gets tired very fast. And you can clean that up by just cleaning up the data using a script, right? Because from an end user perspective, from search, you don't want to have a facet which says business class, business space class, BC. It's not very user friendly. Or you could just hire some content editors. That's not only for expense. So link, what you can do with link. The link people know how to do link, right? As you can see, the only thing you have to change is the Coveo web index, and that's it. It's your normal code. No change there. But that's great news. You can start using it tomorrow. So what does Coveo add on top of the Sitecore link? So the normal link queries will still work. Also when you query our database or our index. But there are some important ones, like the boost. See? So this essentially adds fields with this value and the other value with 200 points. So you can add additional boosters to the mix. Another one is, and that's definitely what the standard doesn't have, is you can do nested queries. Nested queries. What is a nested query? Well, think about you are offering a product search, but the products have reviews or comments. They are not linked together. They're separate items, but they are linked together by a product ID, right? But you don't want to show comments in your search result. That doesn't make sense because you want to show products only. But that's where we call a nested query, because we can search in the comments of the review, get the product code from that, and then display the products associated to those comments. Hope it makes sense. It's just a nested query. So you want to report on A, and the content is somewhere lower. Okay. Maybe in destinations, you want to search for the best cocktails ever in some review, and you want to show all the destinations who have that somewhere. Make sense? And of course, you can use phonetic matching. So from the link query, you can say, okay, give me a phonetic match on John, or John, or Johan, Johannes, whatever. Schmidt, Smith, Smith, right, in German or Dutch. You have those weird names. So you can get the proper results. And this is not the phonetic match as in SQL Server, which only works for English. This works for 90% of the languages.
How does it do it?
It's a double semaphore algorithm. So it essentially calculates a numeric value, and that's where it's being used for the phonetic matching.
You put this algorithm.
No, it's open source. You can find it on the internet. Double semaphore. And that's it. Oh, pretty well on time, right? Any questions?
Performance compared to sort of.
Oh, it's worthless. No.
You got any numbers like?
Well, our engines are tailored for 50+ million content items. So from that perspective, we should be fine in responding within a second. Okay. So from that perspective, we're the same as Solar.
So is that technology similar, like file system?
Yes. Yeah. Our index is using a file system to store the index files, and on top of that, the queries are being executed. Okay.
You say you provide support for multiple platforms. What type of CRMs provide, particularly provide support for Dynamics? And additionally to that, does the platform allow connectivity?
Yeah.
For geographically distributed?
Yeah. So from a CRM perspective, we currently work with Salesforce, and on the roadmap is Dynamics to integrate there and also to index the content. Currently, for the cloud product, you query a single index, and for on-premise, you could have a geographical dispersed index. But normally in the cloud, that's not necessary, but it depends on how you're set up. Okay.
Free text search. So do you use different languages, I guess?
Yes.
And is it for the Chinese and
Yes.
other
Japanese,
extra
all the great characters, it all works. So we support 44 languages out of the box from an indexing perspective.
And the analyzer behind is the Chinese one?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. In some languages we don't support stemming, right, to break up the word. In most common languages we do, but some languages are tougher than others.
Most common, so it includes Chinese then.
Sorry?
Most common languages, so it includes Chinese.
I don't think we support stemming for Chinese. No. You
know
what I mean, right?
If we get enough customers,
Sorry?
if we get enough Chinese customers, we're definitely going to expose
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the other question about the keyword search, do you support the auto that kind of search, so extending the word best fits, or
yeah,
the
we-
typo kind of?
Yeah, the
predictions?
digimeme and the auto-completion,
Yeah.
we support that based on metadata fields from a specific metadata value, based on previous queries from others. So we are trying to get the best autocomplete. Okay.
Commerce server, are you guys
We're working on it to support that, so that you also have an e-commerce search available. Yeah, and we're working on that.
Is there a dashboard to review the index?
Yes, so we have, you can drill into your own index to see what is in the index, and you can examine everything.
Tracing flows to see what the actual historic direction and the output.
Yes, that's also powered by the search analytics, like the visit browser, so you can see what people did during their search quest. Okay. Anything else? No, nothing else? Yeah.
Do you support publishing servers? You know, when you publish,
Yeah.
you start indexing content.
Yes.
What if you don't publish via original publishing mechanism, but you publish in service instance instead to publish your content?
I don't know. The only thing I know is that when it's going through the normal search provider events, that's where we get the push to our index.
Will they be triggered, Steve?
Yeah, so I can kind of make a guess. I can't say for sure.
I'm not very
But
sure
the
as well.
publishing service is using almost all of the same events as the original publishing manager.
Because if it would not be, then Solar would also not catch it.
Yeah, so yeah, indeed.
Right.
There's some subtle differences at the end
Okay.
of the publish, for example. It's like I say, the whole kind of paradigm between the two publishing, the old and the new, is slightly different, but it won't affect an item save, and that's what indexing is based on. So as
Yeah.
soon as an item is saved, it will be sent off to the search providers, and whichever one is hooked in will index it. So
Okay.
I don't see a problem.
So the last question, what are the limitations of free version?
The limitations of the free is that the connectivity is only Sitecore. So if you want to index external websites, you need the Pro version. Of course, there's no support because there's just community which need to help you. And in the content editor, the filter expressions is not something what a content editor can do. And the boosters, so that needs to be done by a developer. And the XDB is part of that, which is not supported in free or pro at all. So if you want to use some boosting, you still can use free. That's the limit.
Boosting and free as well.
Yes, but not based on the XDB. So if you use
Custom
manual,
coding.
sorry,
Based on custom coding.
custom coding, yeah. Okay. That's it. I need to draw this.
Yeah, has everyone added their names into the bullets? You can draw it.
Where is it? Oh, here.
Give it like a good shape.
Relevancy. Sitecore.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. Heather McDonald.
Steve
What is
McGill.
Russ Petter. What's this? Oh, okay. Okay. Those are my colleagues, so that would be illegal, right? Red Moon Limited. James Thomas.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's fine, everyone.
That's it, right? That's it.
Good one. So there was some whistles on. Guys, we're going to take a 20-minute break or something, so go and help yourself to some
drink and some food. We're going to get set up for the next lightning talk. Alex, I'll be presenting that day.